like you can have one single gallery where it could be from Ethereum blockchain or Solana
Yep.
blockchain. I think that's big.
Yeah, and then they can interact with each other, and they're kind of interchangeable.
Today we're covering what's in the news, and my name is Elisha Terada. I'm the Technical Innovation Director at Fresh Consulting, and
Yep,
Johnny.
and I'm Johnny Rodriguez. I'm our Strategic Innovation Director.
Cool. So Johnny, what do we have this week?
Yeah, so there's some interesting things happening in the news right now as it relates to augmented reality, as well as Somnium Space and Solana. So I think we're going to talk a little bit about Solana and some of the interesting things around that. Can you fill us in on Solana really quick, Elisha?
Yeah, so basically Solana is like, if you think about Ethereum, it's like another blockchain that you can do things like NFTs and create applications with it. So Solana is essentially just another blockchain. And what's maybe interesting that we'll probably touch on is that it's different from like Ethereum based the currencies or the chains that you're more familiar with. So we're gonna touch on that.
Yep. So yeah, I think what's really interesting about that is most of the virtual environments that are you could call like a early version of the metaverse today, right? In my opinion, we're talking about like Decentraland, the Sandbox, um, Somnium Space. There's a few others in that realm, but a lot of those are Ethereum based blockchains. So if you have an avatar, if you have a vehicle, if you have wearables, if you have land, all of that is on the Ethereum blockchain. And so you're connecting to something like MetaMask is the most common one there, typically across these. And then you're essentially saying, okay, cool, let me bring in my assets. And then those become usable utility in those environments, right?
Yeah, and most people probably don't think about it as much. They just think Ethereum is the NFT and the metaverse, because if you go to OpenSea, which is the largest marketplace, they support Ethereum, and it's the big name that everyone understands. But I think not many people understand Solana or other types of blockchains.
Yep. So I want to jump to a piece of news that came out yesterday morning. So Somnium Space, which I've been following pretty closely, they just announced this. It says, we're delighted to announce that we have completed Solana blockchain integration. As of today, Somnium Space is officially a multi-chain metaverse. You can now connect your Phantom wallet. So they're using the Phantom wallet as a way to get to the Solana blockchain kind of NFTs, to start using your Solana NFTs inside of our world. And so you get like a snapshot of there's the Phantom wallet connecting and kind of integrating your wallet essentially into Somnium Space. And then they kind of have details here. I won't read all of these things, but essentially it talks about all the things that you can essentially bring over. Part 2 of this says, this is the first time ever when you'll be able to take your, for example, a Solana NFT avatar and then drive an Ethereum NFT car inside of one persistent VR metaverse. Future of metaverse is now, and it is multi-chain. So that's a pretty big news in comparison to what you see with the other kind of metaverse environments. This is a multi kind of blockchain environment now, essentially.
Yeah, I think that was the big concern, at least I personally had, when thinking about purchasing NFTs. For example, Solana NFTs are considerably cheaper, and you don't have to pay as much gas to do the transaction. But because it's not Ethereum based, for one thing, I could not use MetaMask, and I have to now open up a new wallet, and I'm like, do I want to deal with multi-wallet situation? And if I get something in Solana, sure, it's cheaper, but like if I can't display it in my
if it's not usable
space,
in any things,
so I'm like, maybe I'll just like push that aside and like not think about it. But this is big, that you can have two things coexist in one space, as opposed to like, here's a Solana room with the Solana gallery and the Ethereum gallery. Like you can have one single gallery where it could be from Ethereum blockchain or Solana
Yep.
blockchain. I think that's big.
Yeah, and then they can interact with each other and they're kind of interchangeable. And so I would imagine that this is going to be a big deal for Solana, considering that it is a little bit more affordable from a gas fees perspective and things like that, you know? So I think we're going to see a lot more maybe come from that, from an avatar and vehicles and wearables and things like that. There are some other things in the news around the Solana kind of side of things, around OpenSea. Before I jump to that, any other thoughts on this Somnium Space kind of Solana integration?
No, I think that's interesting. We should check it out and buy some NFTs on Solana and see if it can actually have multiple.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
I did transfer some and purchase some Solana as soon as I saw this, just because I was interested in like, oh, this might jump because of the integration. There's also this other piece of news here that has to do with Solana, and this is not news of official news. This is a bit more speculation and kind of leaks from Jane Mansion Wong, and you can find her there at Wong M Jane. Just to give her credit on this, but she's done other leaks before with other big companies, and what she revealed essentially is that OpenSea is working on a Solana integration. Again, this is the largest NFT marketplace that exists, and so they're going to have the Solana integration with the Phantom wallet support, and you're getting like a leaked photo there of how you'll connect that. You can see it there, and then the part 2 of this is seeing the change. So this is like a filter that you can, like, you're looking at NFTs for something, you can go and filter by Solana, and then essentially it's kind of another big piece of news, because that means that you don't then have to go to Solana marketplaces, which there's quite a few out there, and there's a lot of competition with that. You can go, OpenSea is just becoming even more compatible with other chains, and so it's going to probably grow the user base, and again, it's promoting Solana in another way. So they haven't officially mentioned anything about it yet or announced it, but yeah, what do you think? How do you think that'll be impactful for OpenSea and for NFT accessibility and pricing and all that?
I think this is huge because we are working on NFT project at Fresh Consulting, and the main discussion point was we probably want to go with Ethereum because it's supported in most applications out there today if we mint NFT on that blockchain. But the gas fee was a concern where, like, okay, every time we want to do something with NFT in our company, we have to be ready to spend like quite a bit of gas fees.
Yep.
But it's what's most popular and most compatible. So like, okay, well, I guess we have to use Ethereum. But if Solana is coming up as the next, most supported blockchain for NFTs and even at the marketplace, then we might actually change our mind and like go with the Solana. So it creates like a new, cheaper alternative where we can more casually do NFT minting and trading, as opposed to like, oh, I like this art, it's only like $10 worth of Ethereum, but look, I have to pay $200 to purchase because the gas fee is so high.
Yep.
So I think changes the game quite a bit for a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm really excited about that particular piece of news. Anything else on the Solana part? If not, I want to share some AR news.
Yeah, I think maybe the only thing is just the wallet part again, the Phantom wallet.
Yeah.
Although it's nice to OpenSea and everything is going to start supporting Solana, we have to now think about additional wallet option. And recently we published a blog post about your choice as to what kind of wallet that you should pick. And the 2 recommendations that we have is to use MetaMask because it's the most widely supported and it works on every single dApp out there because it has been around the longest and it has the most active user bases. And the second option was the Coinbase wallet because it is coming from one of the biggest chain. I think it's the second biggest next to Binance. Has a wallet, and a lot of users who purchase their cryptocurrencies on Coinbase, it's kind of natural integration to also use their wallet. But if you look at Solana support, although the Coinbase itself supports sending, receiving, trading, the wallet doesn't quite support it. And I don't know if they have planned to support it, but this means whether you go with the MetaMask or Coinbase, now you have to create one in Phantom. And now you have to
A separate wallet, right?
separate wallet that kind of adds like mental overhead, I think, for a lot of users. And
Like
I think
less
we're
accessibility,
okay, but
right? Like
yeah,
anytime
yeah,
there's like a new thing of like, okay, you have to download this new thing and it's a Chrome extension and you can't lose it. Oh, and then now you have to do that again for a different thing that you may not
yeah,
completely understand that
yeah,
costs a little bit cheaper, so yeah, there's a lot of that overhead for sure.
yeah. So I might have to update this article that we just published yesterday, and
Yep.
we'll put the link on this video description so that you guys can read about like MetaMask versus Coinbase. But yeah, I'll probably have to add an update. You might also think about creating a Phantom wallet
Yeah.
at the same
So
time.
do you think that like, is it possible for a company like MetaMask to eventually support Solana, or is that like more of a technical limitation?
I think it is possible.
Okay.
But generally speaking, MetaMask says it only supports the Ethereum-based blockchain.
Got it.
So I'm not quite sure. Maybe that's the leak that we can follow. Like, I think the more demand there is, I think there will be naturally more effort spent to support multiple.
Yep. That makes sense. Got it. Well, yeah, that's exciting for Solana. So that's pretty breaking news. And what's crazy is if you look at like where it's at from a pricing standpoint right now, it's still under $100. I think it's like 99 from what we saw this morning. So it still could be an interesting opportunity if that's the type of, if people are there investing. Be good to like dig into that, do your own research, of course. But could be exciting, and that could kind of blow up as like you said, the next big blockchain that exists as it relates to kind of metaverse, NFTs, and things like that. So yeah, we'll look at that. So let me jump over to the next piece of news here, which is just a reveal of a AR headset that we've heard about, has been announced and talked about before. This is from Magic Leap 2. So we've seen like initial renders of it when it was announced, but essentially this is a kind of a prototype engineer for Magic Leap that talked about like, man, I'm so excited to finally share these recently released Magic Leap 2 kind of essentially images now. And so if we click on these, you can kind of get a sense for how it's going to look. Very similar to what we saw, but now we're getting the full reveal. And there's some really interesting details around it in a news article that I saw here. So even just at this glance, you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of major visible cameras. There's some other ones maybe inside of here. To be clear, this is not something that you're going to wear all the time, right? This is a headset that is an augment more comparable to something like the HoloLens 2, where it's essentially like a more robust, not necessarily for consumer type of headset. It's more.
It looks like it's connected by cable.
It's connected. Yeah, it's a wired AR headset. Yep.
Got it.
But it's a lot. It's a pretty big, significant hardware and physical update from the predecessor, like the previous Magic Leap headset, essentially. And so if we go over here, there's some specs that I just wanted to point out here. Let me refresh this. But essentially, there's been a lot. It doesn't have as much of the hype as the original version, is what a lot of people are saying here. But it's probably going to be the best AR kind of like headset that exists in the market, given to some of the performance and metrics in there. So you can see things like in here, this is what it looks like, by the way. This is the connection that you were kind of asking about. There's a controller with the 6 degrees of freedom, things like that. It's got a drastically improvement on the performance and storage and battery. It's USB-C compatible. Lots of sensors. One of the biggest things that was revealed is that it has 18 cameras on it. So I pointed out maybe 6 that we saw, but it actually has 18 cameras, and that'll turn into things like like eye tracking. So there's some inward facing cameras and then some outward facing cameras, as well as sensors. And so you're seeing some of that. They've announced that it's going to be about 50 to 70 degrees field of view, meaning like how wide you actually can see inside of the AR headset and that's from a Horizontally, it's 45 degrees, and vertically 53. So anyway, kind of an interesting jump there. They talk about some other features that they'll have, like segmented dimming, so being able to dim certain areas, or even talking about enabling black. How you must have seen it before was kind of more transparent. I remember looking at a Magic Leap when I was at CES, and it looked more like the top image there, and you'll start seeing more of it like this, where it's a little bit stronger imagery and things like that. But essentially, it is it's going to be more expensive, probably around $2,000, and
Wow.
revealing, it's going to be more of a company like business kind of use case, industrial use case. Some consumers use it, but this will not be like your everyday wearable kind of headset. But kind of an interesting news from just that reveal of what it's going to look like and the expectations on the specs. Any
Yeah,
thoughts on
it's
this, Alicia?
interesting how they may have shifted from like a consumer oriented. I think initial one was consumer oriented, right? I don't think it was
Yes,
as
it was. It was
expensive.
intended to be for consumers. Yep.
Yeah, and they made the pivot. And I think the hype is not as much because the first one they didn't quite receive good feedback or review. So they must have done some pivot.
Yep.
Yeah.
It was a little bit of a letdown, I think, up front. Just all the hype it got, and it got like if I remember correctly, like almost a multi-billion-dollar, like $2 billion, $1.8 billion valuation before they ever released the product. So it had a huge valuation for what it was coming with. Some of the videos promoting it were insanely amazing. I don't know if you ever saw like the high school or like elementary school gym where there's a big whale jumping and it splashes into the
Oh,
water.
right.
That came
Right.
from them. That was their promotional video of like, here's what's coming with Magic Leap 1. And so I'm really interested. I think this is a headset, this is definitely a headset that you and I should get and should play with and build with. I think it'd be a really good one to test out. I think because it's going to be the most advanced, spec by spec, it should be the most advanced that exists out there. Maybe the HoloLens 2 would be another one to keep an eye on, and maybe a few others, but could be interesting to see how that plays out and what kind of things we can do with
Yeah.
it, play with,
I,
as
I
we
think
think about using it.
the price point is definitely good compared to the HoloLens that's $3,500 still.
Yeah.
And the field of view is 47 degrees for the HoloLens 2. So it has like even wider field of view for this new Air glass from the Magic Leap. So it could be there's some things that seems to be probably upgraded experience, and yeah, we can build something interesting with the lens. Yeah, it would be cool if it's compatible with different platforms. Like maybe we can develop on the Mac, or maybe we need a PC to develop. But yeah, this seems exciting, and I guess we don't know when we are able to get on the wait list or purchase anytime soon.
We
This
don't.
one.
Yeah, there's not a ton of. I think it's kind of like a soft release, kind of subtle releasing and things like that. So yeah, we'll have to keep an eye on that. But eventually it will be, and it'll be out there, and I think we'll see some cool things get built within it. So yeah, that's kind of the latest essentially. So Solana integration to Somnium Space. Solana potentially a leak there, that the rumor that it might be on OpenSea, and what that might mean for Solana and for the accessibility of NFTs and multi-chain metaverses. And then just the thought of AR, just the thought that AR glasses are seeing drastic improvements year by year now, and this would be a pretty big jump for AR with what Magic Leap is revealing. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah, I'm
covers the news
excited
for
for
today.
I'm excited for the 2022, like all these new changes kind of evolving from 2021
Yep.
development into it. So cool.